What's up? It's AK Babyface. Subscribe to Supporting Icons for the latest boxing news.
Right, so let's talk about it. Deontay Wilder versus King Kong, Luis Ortiz, the rematch. And for those of us here in the UK, it'll be on Sky Sports, early hours of course. And for those of you in America, FOX Sports pay-per-view. You heard me right, pay-per-view. Quite how much it is, I'm not too clued up with the pay-per-view prices, but I'm hearing around about $75. That's a hell of a lot of money for a rematch that, let's be honest, people weren't asking for. Well, they were, but straight after the first fight, but they haven't been asking for it since then. But the reason that a lot of people are maybe saying that it's not worth pay-per-view and why the ticket sales have so far been bombing, and there's actually sites out there where they're giving away tickets for free, and they've even slashed the prices from some of them at $500 to $100. Again, fact. Listen, I know Wilder fans don't like hearing it, but that is the fact of it. But all that aside, that doesn't really matter. The fact is, had the rematch have happened after the first fight, due to the controversy of the first fight, of certain things that happened, we're going to go into it too much, but people would have been okay with the rematch straight away. People were asking for it at that point. But fact is, since then, Deontay Wilder, he's had two fights. One against Tyson Fury, where he officially got a draw, but most people recognise that he lost that fight. And then he fought Dominic Breazeale. Not a fight that he was asking for either, so we can't blame Wilder for it. But it went exactly the way that everyone predicted that he was going to do. Dominic Breazeale will be lucky to get out the first round, but he certainly ain't getting no later than 3. And that's exactly what happened. But again, this was not Wilder's fault. This is WBC fault for naming Breazeale mandatory. So his stock has plummeted a bit since that Ortiz win. Luis Ortiz, he's had 3 fights, and in his last 2 has looked absolutely terrible. He's looked pretty old, to be honest with you, which is probably why now he's taken on a new strength and conditioner coach, a top-rated strength and conditioning coach, where it's going to help him with the stamina issues and all that kind of thing. And to be fair, Luis Ortiz, when you look at him right now, he looks in pretty damn good shape, does he not? He does. The problem is he's 40 years old, and if you're going to bring in a strength and conditioning coach, should have done that several fights ago to get the benefits for right now. Trouble is, you can't bring a strength and conditioning coach in for 1 camp only when you're 40 years old. That is not going to help him in any way, shape or form. I'd love to be wrong, but I don't think it's going to help him. Now, as I said before, it's not a fight that people are asking for, but that's the fight we're going to get. And for a lot of people, they'll watch it one way or another. If you're going to pay pay-per-view for it, that's entirely up to you. As I said before, they've slashed the prices down for the tickets, and the pay-per-view shouldn't really be pay-per-view, but it is, and some people will pay for it, other people will find other means of doing so. Because ultimately, this is pretty much, and again, Wilder fans don't like hearing it. Why don't I like hearing it? Because this is the truth. This is the battle of the Dillian Whyte and Anthony Joshua Duckers. Fact, fact, fact. Deontay Wilder, he turned down $100 million to have undisputed against Anthony Joshua. Didn't even try to negotiate it. Plus many other offers beforehand. Flatly turned them down. He turned down Dillian Whyte. Several offers. Even sent Dillian Whyte a message saying, I ain't going to fight you. We all know the WBC situation now as well. So there's that one. And Luis Ortiz, again, he turned down a headline fight with Dillian Whyte because he wanted to fight on the Wilder Fury undercard instead. So again, he ducked Dillian Whyte, and he's just recently turned down $7 million to fight Anthony Joshua. So this is the battle of the Dillian Whyte Anthony Joshua Duckers. Now, as far as this fight's going to go, now we can make some comparisons. Some people say, but Luis Ortiz, he nearly had Deontay Wilder out of there. It was his fatigue, it was his fitness levels that let him down. And you are right to a point, of course you are. But ultimately, with Luis Ortiz, yes, he did throw it away, but he just isn't the fighter that people think that he is. Now, Wilder, in the first fight, he fought quite scared in the first few rounds. He was very, very cautious of Luis Ortiz. Very, very cautious. Which is why I think it took Wilder so long to get on out of there, and which is why he got clipped by Ortiz, which got him in trouble with in round number 7. We're going to talk about what happened after then, not too much point. But if Ortiz couldn't get Wilder done at that point, how can 18 months later he can get rid of Wilder now? Don't get me wrong, let's not write off Luis Ortiz. He's still a dangerous opponent. Of course he is. And he's a heavyweight. One punch changes everything. We've seen that with Ruiz and Joshua. And I think that's why a lot of people who are picking Luis Ortiz to win is because maybe a lot of people are paranoid. Maybe a lot of people are worried about Ortiz defeating Wilder, especially the Wilder fans, because of what happened with Ruiz and Joshua. Whereas before, they've always been pretty confident about who's fighting who, everything's a foregone conclusion, but it's heavyweight boxing. One punch changes everything. So again, yes, we can't write off Luis Ortiz. But ultimately in this one, Wilder is not going to be fighting scared in this one. He's already fought Ortiz. He's already beat Ortiz. And if what Wilder says was correct, that he's been ill on the build-up for the first fight, if he's feeling much better now, as in no flu, no injuries coming into this rematch, he's going to be full of beans. He's going to be confident. Confident as hell. Because if Ortiz couldn't defeat him then, how's he going to do it now? Yes, again, we know that Luis Ortiz, right before the ring walk, he was failing a medical. And he had to get a special exemption to do the ring walk and fight Wilder. So again, both of these guys were at a disadvantage. But 18 months has gone past and Luis Ortiz has looked terrible. Thankfully for Luis Ortiz, he does have a puncher's chance. And Wilder doesn't like it on the whiskers. Okay, he doesn't like getting hit on the chin. Because when he does a little bit of a Bambi dance. He gets in trouble straight away. So, but with Wilder, he's younger than Ortiz. Listen, Wilder ain't no spring chicken. He's what, 33, 34 years old. So he's no spring chicken in himself, but he's still fast. He's much faster than Ortiz. And if somebody's faster than Ortiz, Ortiz struggles with them. Deontay Wilder, he put out Maddox Scott in the first round. Yes, of course, we can argue about the fact that Maddox Scott took like a bit of a dive, but it took Luis Ortiz, it took him the distance. Why? Because he moved. If somebody moves, Luis Ortiz can't trap him. He's never been able to trap fighters. Again, people say how Luis Ortiz is the boogeyman. He's not the boogeyman. He never was. And I'll tell you the truth, again, fact, as to how all that started. When Tyson Fury, when he went over to Germany and defeated Vladimir Klitschko, Luis Ortiz was the mandatory, WBA mandatory. So Tyson Fury was set to take on Luis Ortiz. But Tyson Fury had already signed to have a rematch with Vladimir Klitschko. The WBA agreed to it. So after then, some reporters were asking Tyson Fury, well, if you don't get the rematch with Vladimir Klitschko, you're going to have to fight Luis Ortiz. Tyson Fury joked when he said, I ain't fighting Luis Ortiz. He's a boogeyman. He scares me. He was messing about. But now, since then, they're using the whole boogeyman thing as if it was real. It wasn't real. Tyson Fury started that by messing about. So, no, it's not a rematch people are asking for. Financially, it's going to be a major, major flop. And that's why Showtime passed it up. But ultimately, do we care if it flops? Not really. Do we care if it's successful? Not really, but hopefully it is. Now, as far as the winner goes, for me, Deontay Wilder will get rid of Luis Ortiz within the first 2, maybe 3 rounds. Again, don't be surprised of a first round knockout. Don't be surprised of it at all. Okay, this strength and conditioning coach, as I said before, with Luis Ortiz, is not going to help him that much for one fight. Now, I would love Luis Ortiz to win. It would shake things up a bit. It would make things a bit more exciting. It would make people look after this fight and go, well, yeah, actually, Wilder was brave to take this fight. Because Luis Ortiz was actually more dangerous than what we thought that he was. Again, people draw comparisons with the fact that Wilder, he hasn't been himself or his usual character of the Bronze Bomber leading up to this rematch. He's been very, very placid, very respectful even. That's not usually the way for Wilder. Is he overlooking Ortiz? I wouldn't have thought he's overlooked him because it's going to bother him what happened in round number 7 with the fact that people say that maybe the referee should have stopped the fight. Plus quite a few other bits and pieces. So I think Wilder's going to go out there to try and do a job on him. And if by some miracle it does go the points distance, again, we can draw comparisons with the first fight. Up to round number 10, the judges had Deontay Wilder winning that fight. Anybody watching that fight knows full well that Luis Ortiz was quite handedly winning that fight. Handedly. But the judges were going to award it to Wilder had it gone distance. Same thing will happen with this fight. So the only way for Ortiz to win this one, if of course he's not going there to take a dive, is to knock out Wilder. That's the only way he's going to win. That's the only way he's going to win. And then set up what would be, let's be honest now, a mega rematch, much like it is with Joshua and Ruiz. It's a mega rematch. If Wilder was to lose to Ortiz, then obviously there'll be a rematch clause in there, you would hope. Then that would be a mega rematch. And Wilder's name will go through the roof, his popularity, if Ortiz gets to win. But listen, I have to wait and see what happens. Ultimately, it's heavyweight boxing. You can't ever really write anybody off, no matter who they are. But I think realistically, Wilder should dispose of Luis Ortiz within no later than 3 rounds. That's my honest thoughts of it. Either way, it ain't going 10. We know that much, like the first one did. Drop your thoughts below, click thumbs up, subscribe. Catch you all on the next video.